Brendan Walsh of DCU to respond.
Thanks, Emma. Okay. Thanks, Emma, and thanks both. And I think I have the hardest job here because I have to try and summarise what these two fantastic speakers have said. First of all, I think I have 6 points. I'm going to try and make them in about 2 minutes. I think I just on a note of something positive to begin with. Believe it or not, when I published Degrees of Nonsense last year, or roughly last year, two things happened. One was I thought I was a lone voice, and I'm delighted to hear so much of what I was thinking. And I read Des's book. In fact, I plagiarised it liberally from my own book. Mary published at the same time, and we were ships in the night, and we sent each other's books. But delighted in that there's the new managerial work being done as well at UCT. So there is a momentum. Anytime I'm feeling desperate about the situation here, I think of the UK, and I think of the situation you're in, and I think, thanks, crikey, we still, to some extent, still have a certain amount of freedom, autonomy, and so on, but I think it's very much so under threat. And I think, in relation to what was said earlier on, for ideological reasons, there's no point in kidding ourselves. These are ideological reasons, nothing else, nothing to do, and let's say the word out loud, to do with enterprise, to do with business, and so on and so forth. Mary, if you don't mind me saying so, when I read your book, and Des as well, and I got the sense from Mary again today, and I hope you don't mind me saying it, of a sense of almost frustration, a tangible frustration, and tangible anger. I felt the same. In fact, when I read my own chapter back on my own book, I was almost sorry I put it in the pub because I was so cross when I wrote it. I was at the end of my tether. I had a situation here one night. I was here last night till 9 o'clock actually. 2 years ago, my mother was critically ill, taken to hospital in a coma. I missed a lecture. The chair of the programme got an email from the student asking would she be refunded for that night. Okay, now that's very, very rare. But if you equate what Des is saying, the financial situation, the relationship and so on, and the losers are them, not us, because for all sorts of reasons to say later. But the positive issue I wanted to make was, and I'm going to boast here, when I did write the book, I got an invitation to the Oras. And I went, and it was lovely, and I brought my parents, and it was lovely, and all the rest of it. I went to visit the Oras, and I was very proud of it, thought of all my old teachers and all the rest of it, okay? The reason I'm saying that is because there are very strong allies out there. There are civilised, reflective people out there who are not necessarily in the academy, but they're great allies. And all this talk about the arts, we did a lot of rhetoric about the late, great Seamus Heaney recently, and I had the pleasure of listening and read out in UCD as a student. A lot of rhetoric about it, and our own president, Colbert Patrick Kavanagh, when he was made president here. And at the same time, you then in the UK removed the funding from the arts. Very close to calling the art subjects here kind of an elitist privileged as well in many respects. Look at what happened to the classics and Queens, look what happened to Old Irish and UCD and so on. We have to have our eyes open to these things. Anyway, I picked out 2 or 3 points. One of the things that struck me about what Mary said was that education can't be bought. It chimed very well with what Des was saying earlier on. And I think this idea of education as a commodity has become a real danger. And it's also, we are now delivering modules. I made this point to me last year in my own, I'm from the School of Education Studies, and you can deliver milk. You cannot deliver an intelligent, reflective engagement with students. You can deliver a laptop or whatever. But that has become the common parlance. It completely undermines and diminishes what we do with our students in our lecture theatres, tutorials and rooms. And it's insulting as well. And it's a Bologna thing. It's not just whatever. I remember the teaching council chair once in Scotland saying, ministers come and go, ministers of education come and go, our job is to limit the damage they can do while they're there. But these things are not come and go. They're that part of they've stitched into mission statements and so on. The second thing I said is, and it is the point that Ronnie made earlier on, these are ideological things, and I read with interest the emails that were going around earlier on. The new vision for the university, in my understanding is, and if I can be very brief with this, 2 seconds, the old Soviet paradigm needed somewhere to go. My understanding is that it's been adopted by a neoliberal stance. In other words, all students are now agents of the state in producing. Our students are conceptualised in terms of how they can help the economy. I would say, to the end of my days, that's not our job. It's part of what we do, but if we don't have critical, reflective, engaged graduates leaving this university, they will run back to the situation we had 5 or 6 years ago. We'll be apologising to our engineers and our accountants and to our students that they're unemployed. As I said to Ronnie the other day, they need to know why they're unemployed. Okay, we can't close our eyes to situations out there, but I think it is it's a very much an ideological stance that's been taken. And I think in agreeing with Mary, it's the dishonesty of it. It's deeply dishonest. Let's just say you want to make the university into an elite technological institution, not necessarily this university, but any university, don't keep using the rhetoric of this and the other. I think it's important that university managers, and managerialism and managers are not the same thing, but I do think it's important that they're honest about what they're saying and why we're being forced to deliver these anyway. Sorry. Okay. All right. I'm away on my own book now. Sorry. Coming to Des, there's two or three points to Des. One is, what strikes me all the time is he makes a point about people working hard in the universities, being committed to students and so on and so forth. I find that all the time as well. Okay, we were all over the work hours thing a couple of years ago when we went through it with our dean. This does not seem to be reflected in how people who run universities talk about university. Okay, the actual the commitment and the effort and so on that people make in publishing and so on and so forth. It seems to be that we can always do more and be top 50, under 50 and so on and so forth. Okay, just on that, by the way, I saw the other day that Irish universities are almost at the bottom of the table in their connection with business. I said to Ronnie today, turn that upside down, it means we're top of that table, which I think is terrific. Okay. The last thing I want to say, and it is the last thing, actually it isn't that I said that already, okay? So I want to thank, sorry for going overboard, the one thing I would say is I'm sorry this is not in the Terence Market, and this is a discussion that should be, the Terence Market should be jam-packed with the staff at the university to hear these two speakers. So thank you very much, sorry for going over.